Um, 48 hours ago, a bomb dropped on our clients. To say they were devastated by these allegations is truly an understatement. Sean and Leanne, for my money, are salt of the earth. They would never do anything to deprive Michael of anything that was his. And they remain devastated. It's going to take them a while to come around and get to where they need to be. As it relates to the allegations, this lawsuit, this petition, was built around an alleged fact that Mr. Oher did not know that he was not the adoptive son of the Tuohys, but rather there was a conservatorship. He alleges he just found that out in February of 2023. Fact of the matter is, he wrote a book in 2011. And in 2011, he acknowledged in that book on 3 separate occasions in that book that there was in fact a conservatorship. The Tuohys have treated him and taken him in like a son. They have fed him. They have clothed him. They sent him to school. They made certain he had an automobile. They've done for him like they've done for their other children. And I think Sean said it best, that he still loves him today at age 37 like he did when he was 16. I am at a loss, as is Mr. Faris and Mr. Singer and everybody else associated with the Tuohys, as to why or how he has come to the position he's come to, but he has. Court of law is no place to play. This is basically a lawsuit. As it relates to a conservatorship, that order was entered in December 7th, 2004. National Signing Day that year, the following year, was in February. It was on February the 2nd of 2005. So he had a pretty short window. We all know that Oher was a tremendous lineman, great player, great history that he's made for himself on the football field. At the time, and I might be wrong about this, you might check the stats of you sports guys, I think there were 3 schools in the running. Came down to Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU. And I could be wrong about that. I wouldn't put my hand on the Bible and swear that, but I think that's right. The only way, given the NCAA rules at the time back in 2005, that he could sign with Ole Miss, is he became, according to the NCAA, as part of the family. They sought legal counsel, and basically they wanted to give him the opportunity to choose wherever he wanted to go, including Ole Miss. He was not told to go to Ole Miss. That was his choice. But in order to get that done, they had to make him, as I say, part of the family. That's the route they chose. You had a very short period of time between the time that occurred and National Signing Day. And I think the rest is history as it relates to football. With that, I'm going to ask Mr. Faris, my dear friend and colleague, to make a few comments.
One of the things that needs to be kept in mind in this particular case, when we're talking about a conservatorship, we're not talking about high-profile Hollywood cases. We're talking about a family trying to help someone in need. The Tuohys did not control any of Mr. Oher's finances. Mr. Oher picked his own agent. When he signed pro, Mr. Oher signed his own contract and negotiated it through his agents. In fact, he went through a total of 3 agents The Tuohys had recommended one agent, but he decided to go with another one. He became dissatisfied with that agent, hired another one, became dissatisfied with that agent, and then hired another agent that was recommended by the Tuohys. They did not share in his monies. They did not control any shoe contracts, anything of that nature. The Tuohys treated him like a son. They loved him. And believe you me, there are more expenses to college than just getting a scholarship. And they provided not only financially, but the love and affection that parents should give. And they were able to give it. They don't need his money. They've never needed his money. Mr. Tuohy sold his company for $220 million. He didn't need Mr. Oher's money. This is a sad day. It's devastating to the family, and we hope that it doesn't have a chilling effect on others who want to help needy individuals. Questions?
Mr. Singer said in a statement yesterday that Oher has previously done this and threatened negative press on the family if they didn't give him $15 million. Can you speak about that and kind of what happened with that before?
Well, simply we believe that to be correct and will be shown in court through text messages.
Who was representing the Tuohys at the time when it was going on, do you know?
I was.
So can you speak a little more how that got disposed of? Is it still going on? What happened in that matter?
I don't understand your question.
So I mean, how did that eventually, when he came before and threatened this money and threatened the negative
We
press?
said we're not going to be strong-armed. We haven't done anything. We're not going to be extorted.
Why wasn't the conservatorship ended earlier? He's 37 years old.
Well, let me answer that. They were appointed conservator of the person. There was no estate for which to file accounting for, and frankly, nobody even thought about it. He did all of his own finances, as Steve said. He entered his own contracts. He had his own agents, and frankly, nobody even thought about it. The Tuohys have said on the record more than once since this started some 48 hours ago, they'll be glad to enter whatever order they want to terminate the conservatorship.
Why wasn't he adopted back then?
It didn't make any difference to the Tuohys. There was one way, there was one thing to accomplish, and that was to make him part of the family so that the NCAA would be satisfied because Sean would have been a booster of the university. We've all seen that with our own University of Memphis and Coach Hardaway, but that was the reason.
Daniel Wilkerson, Fox13. Can you give me an estimate as to how much money the Tuohys have made off the Blind Side, the movie, versus how much Oher has made off of that movie?
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, they've all, each member of the family has received the same amount of money. So imagine a pie divided by 5, okay? We estimate each person received $100,000, each person in the family.
Including Mr. Oher.
Correct.
Including Mr. Oher.
Correct.
That money, did it come directly to the Tuohys and then they divvied it up and gave Mr. Oher his portion?
That's correct.
Let me go on to amplify that. After, as we know, in 2004, in those years as an NCAA athlete, he couldn't earn any money. He couldn't have a job. He was straddled by the NCAA rules. So after that was over, Tuohy offered to CCA, I think it's called, we'll go ahead and send Michael's check directly to him. Well, they had to do a whole rigmarole. They confronted Michael with it. He suggested just leave it like it is. And every time Sean would get a check, he'd take a picture of it, he'd send it to Michael and send him a check. So Michael got every dime he had coming.
And they paid the taxes on it for him.
So when it comes to a trust fund set up for Michael's children, are there multiple trust funds set up? There was mention of that in, I believe, the statement given by the attorney for the family.
there was one trust fund set up for Michael Jr.
by the
Tuohy's
two.
because Michael Oher would not accept the checks.
Why do you think Michael Oher has made these allegations? What do you think is behind it?
We don't know.
One thing I wanted to ask, I was talking to a lawyer earlier today. Typically, when a conservatorship is set up, there's a GAL, or I think it was called guardian ad litem, who helps act as a point person for people like Michael. But there wasn't any mention of that in the petition. What is this true? Was there no GAL?
I mean, it's funny you asked that. We were just looking at that. The GAL was waived by Judge Bennett. He waived the requirement of a GAL. Remember this, Michael was 18. He was a party to the petition. His mother was there. And Judge Bennett saw fit to waive the appointment of a guardian ad litem.
What has the relationship been like between Michael and the Tuohys in more recent years? Have they been in close contact? Has he still been quote-unquote part of the family, or have they been a little more estranged?
No, he's been estranged since then, probably for the last 10 years or so, and becoming more and more vocal and more threatening.
So, in the original filing too, Mr. Oher says that there's a document, a contract signed where it basically strips him of his rights and his name rights, and where he doesn't get any money out of anything coming. But he's not sure if his signature is the one on the document, doesn't remember signing it. Is there a response to that?
It's patently false. He's negotiated his own contract with the NFL. He's hired and fired agents. The Tuohys have never had to sign off on any of that. He's done that all himself.
Is that typically how it worked with a conservatorship, or are they working around the conservatorship in terms of the negotiations that he did on his own with the NFL, shoe deals, etc.?
Well, generally, all depending on what the circumstances are. Remember, this conservatorship was set up for the purpose that I indicated earlier, so that if he chose to go to Ole Miss, there would not be an issue about Sean being a booster. And that was the sole reason. And after that got done, nobody really gave a damn. So typically, there might well be the requirement of a conservator to execute a contract. Okay, but in this case, he executed his own, and nobody ever objected to it. Certainly the Tuohys didn't object to it. They didn't want no part of his money. They would have done anything to help him had he needed them to. But he negotiated his own deals and made his own money, and I think he made $34, $35 million playing right tackle in football.
Just so I'm clear, it was $100,000, not 200 or 225 that he was given.
We believe it to be $100,000 per person, 5 shares.
And that was when the movie initially came out. Were there any more funds when this movie is in DVD sales and any other checks?
As time goes on, I expect there may be additional revenues.
So how much revenue did the Tuohys make off appearances?
As I indicated, $100,000 per person, approximately. I'm guessing at it, but it's right around that number.
But that was for the contract. They also got 2.5% of the net proceedings, right? So
That's where the money comes from.
Okay.
So the 100,000 is both the initial, whatever, it's 14,000 or whatever that was, plus you're estimating if you all the checks that have come total of 100,000.
Yeah, remember this is 48 hours old, so I don't have the numbers at the tip of my tongue, but that's
it's over the span of time.
yeah, I believe that to be correct.
Michael, the reason why we didn't have this come more to the forefront earlier when the movie came out, a big part of that was that he was adopted. Why was this now coming from there?
I didn't understand your question. What did you say?
So one thing that some of my coworkers were wondering is that a big part of the movie made it seem like he was adopted, and that was a big part of it. Why did it take so long from when that was going around and when that was making money to conservatorship coming out even in 2011?
Well, even in the movie, I think there were reference to a conservatorship. I don't think there was a reference to an adoption in the movie. But to your point, they always treated him as a son. They took him into the family. They did all the things that you would do for a son. So, why 2023 when he acknowledged in 2011 that there was a need of conservatorship? You'll have to ask Mr. Oher that.
So Mr. Oher also, in addition to ending the conservatorship, it looks like he's also looking to get, kind of back pay from what he thinks he's owed over time. Has he presented a figure to the Tuohys as to what he's looking for?
No.
Would you be willing, in addition to dissolving the conservatorship, to have an accounting
He's asked for an accounting. That'll be a pretty simple process, I expect.
Would you mind keeping it closer to the microphone? We're having some problems hearing.
My wife tells me I'm too loud to start with.
So what comes next? It sounds like you're not going to fight any of this conservatorship.
No, we're glad. If that's what he wants to do is terminate it, we're glad to do so. As a matter of fact, it is our intent to offer to enter into a consent order as it relates to the conservatorship, and then if they have other issues, we'll deal with them.
How long would that take to get that order put in and signed and we're done with that?
You know, it shouldn't be long.
What does it mean? Talking a week, talking 2 days?
Look, in this business, what I tell you it takes a week, may take a month. I can't tell you.
Do you think at any point we will hear directly from the Tuohy?
Possibly somewhere down the line, but I mean, look, these people are truly devastated. I mean, this was their son. This was somebody they treated as a son who has made public these allegations that are just ludicrous. So I can't stand in their shoes, but I can only imagine the devastation they must feel.
Michael has never, up until now, ever made any, I'm wondering if he's made any effort before now to, has he ever broached the subject of dissolving the conservatorship or anything ever before now?
Not to my knowledge. Of course, he alleges he didn't know about it until February 23. For whatever that's worth. Questions, anyone? Steve, maybe get y'all cookies. They're back there. Please take them.
Well, I mean, y'all have to eat too. So if there are no further questions,
Fishman. That's what my father told me.
Steve, if you could do that as well.
Fareese, F-A-R-E-S-E. If there are no further questions, we'll end the interview at this time, and thank you very much for coming.
And please get a cookie.